Directors, composers, cinematographers, directors, composers, cinematographers, direct composers, cinematographer.
Everybody's got their favourite director. Everybody knows who John Williams is, and that he's actually an alien that can speak trumpet.
What are your earliest memories of making music at home or in school?
I'd like to talk about a different role in film. Because, trust me, okay, you've got no idea. So, what the heck is a focus puller, you might ask? Is it this, sir? No. Is it this, sir? No. But, sir, does it not grab your attention? No, I know where you're going with this. Stop. Some might say that it's a focus puller. Stop it. A focus puller is responsible for these. Alright, let me explain. So we all know what this is. Come on, let's all say it together. A lens.
A bicycle.
Quick lens 101. Right, let's zoom in on its rings. So this ring here is the focus ring to adjust, well, the focus. And this ring here at the back, the aperture ring, is to adjust the depth of field. So how much of the scene is in focus. Now that focus ring is where the magic happens, but the aperture ring is just as important. Think of it like a difficulty scale in a video game. The wider the aperture and the more light it lets in, as a result, the shallower the depth of field becomes and the harder it is to hit those focus points. But that's only half the story. Before we go forward though, we gotta go back. So when's the last time you saw one of these? If you're old enough, chances are at some point in your childhood, your parents recorded a big family gathering where most of the footage was of their shoes or it was out of focus. But nowadays, that's not really an issue, is it? Is it? And that's because of these. These are the things we be using nowadays, and they all have incredibly fast autofocus, which makes sense. You know, Margaret doesn't want to be constantly racking focus on her cat Pebbles as it runs around the room like a maniac.
Yes, Pebbles! Run, Pebbles! Yes, Pebbles! Jump, Pebbles! Lovely! Oh my... You've gone out of focus again!
The thing is, movies you're watching on the big screen, they're not shot with iPhones. No. Well, unless you're watching Steven Soderbergh's Unsane, which, insanely, was shot entirely on an iPhone 7 Plus. But that's a pretty rare occurrence because these are the cameras they be using. And guess what? They're all manual, baby. So these big name directors are shooting these big budget feature films on these big and expensive manual cameras. The things that the director wants in focus has to be in focus. Each shot costs a lot of money. This is where your focus puller or your first AC or assistant camera, as it's known nowadays, comes in. You see, cinematographers, they get all the accolades, but they rely heavily on their first AC. And this is a constant gig for these focus pullers. There isn't a moment in a shot where the focus is not articulated or controlled or finessed in some deliberate way. But rather than have me explain it to you, let me just show you. So this is a shot from a short film called El Silencio. So you've got the lens and then you've got this guy over here. That's your focus puller. This shot is a long one, so it's 5 minutes and there's no cuts. It's a tracking shot, so the camera is tracking the character through the scene as the character moves. So not only is the character moving, but so is the camera. Now you might say, Paul, that's easy. I track my nephew through the park. It's easy. What are you talking about? No! So you can obviously see the pull focus here as the character gazes down the alleyway. These are the pull focuses that are clear and obvious to the viewer watching. And they're also the types of pull focuses that get the most attention in your video essays and the like. But these aren't the focus pulls I'm talking about. And they're certainly not the ones that keep me up at night. No. I'm talking about the ones you don't even notice. So let's watch that scene again, but this time let's focus on the focus puller. One thing that's noticeable right from the get-go is the constant minute adjustments the focus puller is making as the scene progresses. Every time the character moves or the camera moves, that distance between the character and the lens changes. So the default focus puller has to constantly adjust that focus ring to keep that main character sharp. This level of skill, nothing short of elite. And this is constantly happening on varying levels when you're watching all of your favorite films, from Jurassic Park to Grown Ups 2. Hallway shots are my favorite. Why? Because they're hard as hell and no one notices them. Take this shot from State of Play. It might not even look like the focus is shifting, but it is. It's just that it's changing in a way that mimics how your eyes shift focus in real life. And if you pay attention to the ceiling lights, you can see that the focus is indeed changing. There is a focus puller doing his magic and no one notices. And this skill isn't exclusive to movies. You can see it in all areas of camera work. Like, for instance, sport. Those slow motion NFL long range catch replays, yeah, a very skilled someone is follow focusing that ball all the way down into that player's hand.
You know, my always great shots are if you can get a guy maybe on the 10-yard line at the end of the field and running straight at you, and you're pulling focus, and you pull focus till about here before you lose it. That to me is a pretty good shot.
All that skill right in front of your eyes, and I bet you probably never even thought about it. But whether you realize it or not, every shot relies on it. Imagine this shot from The Dark Knight, but out of focus. Or this shot from Edge of Tomorrow, but out of focus. It's one of the only aspects of a take that can't be fixed or undone later down the line. Imagine then filming Leonardo DiCaprio along with, a few hundred extras, and Martin Scorsese breathing across your hip. All that responsibility would make my head explode.
And action!
Imagine that scenario. I honestly don't want it. But the funny thing about film is that no one role or one aspect of filmmaking wants to be in plain sight or even noticed. More often than not, if you notice it, someone's messed up.
It belongs to my assistant and focus puller, Andy Harris, who is somewhere up there. Who is the pinball wizard of focus pulling, and you'll never know what he does, because you'll only notice it if he makes a mistake, and he never does.
So hey, if you haven't noticed these expertly skilled focus pullers pulling off these painfully hard maneuvers, don't be too hard on yourself, right? Chances are you've watched some pretty damn good movies with some pretty great focus pullers doing what they do best.